Welcome back. This is Diamond Live, and thank you so much for tuning in to our Monday's edition of the program. Now, the government has proposed the 2025 national budget for 217 billion kwacha, which represents around 26% of Zambia's gross domestic product. This marks an increase of 39.11 billion kwacha compared to the 177.89 billion kwacha allocated in the 2024 budget. Finance National Planning Minister Dr. Stumbeko Msokotwani has attributed this rise to the debt restructuring process, which has unlocked additional resources. And according to the minister, domestic revenues will fund approximately 174 billion kwacha, while 8.2 billion kwacha will come from grants provided by cooperating partners, and the remaining 34.7 billion kwacha will be sourced through borrowing. This budget has been unveiled against a backdrop of severe drought and power shortages, with many Zambians looking to the government for reassurance and support. Later this evening, we equally look at constitution-making process in our country, but also we look at democracy and the rule of law. But we'd like to start looking at issues surrounding the 2025 national budget. The Secretary General of the Leadership Movement have an alternative to some of the challenges that the economy in Zambia is currently facing. Jairus Ngoma is Secretary General of the Leadership Movement. Ngoma, thank you so much for making time to speak with us this evening.
Appreciated, Brother Cheswa. And facing first, we need to acknowledge the spirited fight that our forefathers had to put up to have this independence that we have today. And those, our forefathers, had the wisdom. They knew that if we are not going to fight for our children, this land where the resource is, it will be not a good story for our children to come. And they secured the future. We may not be 100%, but they have given us the direction. Look, this land that we are talking about, that's where every resource is anchored. If you see a national park, underneath there are minerals. If you see a state farm, underneath there are minerals. They are keeping for the future generation. Even forests, as you are driving on the copper belt, when you see those forests, those are not for decorations. Underneath, our parents had to preserve. There is no need of exploration. What are we talking about? What we are talking about is that Zambia has all what it takes. The problem is leadership.
You haven't given us your perspectives over the 2025 national budget. You heard the minister attributing the increase from 177.8 billion kwacha to 217 to the debt restructuring process. He says this has been attributed to the debt restructuring process. So now let's have your take from there. Let's start with your take on this increase to the 2025 national budget.
That's why I had to appreciate our forefathers. That regime was a regime, the UNIP regime, of course. They had the productive mindset. They were controlling things. It was going to be prudent today. We hear that the Republic of Zambia, ever since the New Dawn took office, we have things of our own. Now, challenge leadership movement and Dr. Richard Sirumbi, because we are the people who were the architects. In fact, people are laughing at us when we're talking about running ZNS state farms, coming up with the ZNS run mines, because we knew that you cannot talk of an economy where you don't produce. These people came as capitalists. They told us that they have connections, the Americans are coming and they'll bring in. They came as tycoons. Today, they are stuck.
So what are you saying about this increase?
It is not making sense without production. That's the point. You cannot be just going kanjira kama loni chabe mungo kongola. Then mtu that no debt structure nchinyama bwancha manage. Because we are looking at unga nizingati mkomboni. Because simungazi kamba chabe vizungu vama debt structuring when you were telling people that they will be buying minimum at 50 kwacha. Nizingati unga lero ndani mashopu. Wenzo kamba tikabwera ise dola tizaigwesa. Muzaigwesa munjira bwanji kulibe chitukuko. Ise tikabwera mzambo kudya katatu, the high question. No, ine nikabwera fertilizer. So look at the budget. What is it talking about in terms of the primary industry?
And let's let the people understand really what this budget aims to achieve, because the minister talks about the GDP's growth rate of 6.6%, for 2025, and given the ongoing challenges such as the power outages, the energy crisis, how realistic are these targets? And I would like you to, how do you understand this for the layman, and what is the interpretation of these growth rates of 6.6% according to the leadership movement? What are you telling the people?
To start with, iboma ni avizungu. Iboma ni avizungu andi mukaikonkereza yunga gwele mchimugodi. Because poyamba wanakamba tinotachita inherit date budget ya vanzatu. Vaita inherit budget ya vanzao valeteni vapeza mirisi, vagulisa mirisi. Akuti no, valimi tinapeza kuti those farmers were not paid for. So now, a reasonable government, a realistic government, what do you do? These people were in opposition for years. Their friends were telling them that kuli chilala huko, drought. Mezokamba bwanji, poor leadership. Isa we acknowledge that there is a drought. That's why kwenzenkani yakuti katundireni mkafiwe river if you follow properly. Because these people are not acknowledging that even the very COVID, wenzokana tukulibe COVID. The difference with the leadership movement and the rest of the opposition political parties, ours, we are leaders. That's why we look at things from the reference point where, how can we mitigate out of this? We are acknowledging the fact that these people are not ready. We'll make it very clear. Because if they were ready, when they were telling us that in Dubai there, no, they are having electricity 24/7, as when we come, what has gone wrong with the Dubai issue? What is it that the canal, they were telling people that you just make those canal? So you could see that they were just academic exercises. So what we are telling the new dawn is that they shouldn't sugarcoat things, and they should go back to basics. It's production, period. We need to forget all these vizungo of theirs, the GDP and whatever they're talking about.
But talking about production, they say over 80% of the budget will be financed domestically. So, don't you, as leadership movement, support this?
Tell me, which are those sectors they are pointing domestically? Because as you are talking right now, our economy is totally collapsed. Kulimavuto kunja huku. The local entrepreneur, there is no policy. You, the media, you are not exceptional. So apatikamba pangati muna solar is not reliable. We have to make it very clear. And it's not cheap. Generators, again, look at the diesel. How much is the diesel per liter? Have they strike a deal, these people, whether if they mean well to go to places like Russia, where India is going and China is going, to strike cheap deals so that you media houses...
But honestly, Mr. Ngoma, you speak like there hasn't been anything really that the president or this government has done in as far as MOUs, ZESCO, and all of these initiatives that this government is putting in place. Are you telling us that you cannot see the initiatives, the bilateral agreements? I mean, the president was just in China weeks back. Is this not something really that we need to be hopeful for, even when there hasn't been any results? I mean, ZESCO, the ERB equally told us that there was going to be some stable supply of electricity for 3 hours, beginning 1st of October. The minister gave us these announcements. And for the past couple of days, yes, indeed, we can see that there is indeed some stable flow of electricity. Shouldn't we be really having some hope as far as management is concerned?
As we are talking, we have members coming from Copper Belt. Remember, they were told on 1st October, you are going to see the change to do with the electricity. Have we seen today is what, 7th? What are we talking about? Now, we are not here to try to preempt. New PND was voted in by the Zambian people. Leadership movement and Dr. Richard Sirumbe, because we are coming from a different lane altogether, where production is a theme song. We are saying, if it was leadership movement, given the scenario, the way it is, do you know that the Chinese have given about 19, if not 20 projects to do with the solar installation to African countries, those who are willing to be helped to build nuclear power plant? Are you aware of that? The president opted to pick on his head to come up with solars. Are you telling me a solar is a lasting solution? Because if you are not in good books with Russia, you can talk to China. Because the Russians are the experts. They're the ones who taught...
So what would be lasting for you?
The lasting solution, of course, the nuclear power plant. You have uranium here in Zambia, so where is it there? And you go in central province of nuclear power plant.
Didn't experts say that nuclear was a little over-ambitious, owing to the fact that we must perhaps start with solar?
My friend, what I'll tell you and the Zambian people, when you face calamities in life, can you aim at solving a problem? If you where you are squatting and you want to be liberated, you are not going to say, no, my rising solution is renting. You are going to say, I need a piece of land where I'll build my structure there so that I sit for good. That's how you solve problems. Not that, no, in the face in renting. Here the situation is, why is America not going the route you are going? They are going, like, as we were talking some 2 months ago, in the state of Georgia there, they had to come up with a nuclear power plant, 15,000 megawatts. Then you, big as you are, you have the uranium around, you have all sorts of minerals around, land has got all what it takes. What we are supposed to do, we are supposed to be discussing trade. If we are going to be discussing trade, the president goes to China there and say, come and get my gold, come and get my copper, come and get my lithium. By the way, at Kapiri here, we have a place where we can be making these solar panels using the mineral that is available there. And Zambia, as we are talking today, we have manganese, where we're supposed to be manufacturing our own batteries, because we have certain resources. But the problem, where we have a problem with the New Dawn, is where they run away from the production lane. How can you tell us that you are going to raise 80% domestically, so when you are nowhere near?
We're still looking at the budget, but let's see if we can speak. Pick one caller, our first caller calling us this evening. Please go ahead with your question or your contribution. We've got the leadership movement speaking with us as our guest this evening.
Yes, good evening, presenter, and good evening, Mr. Ngoma.
How are you, sir?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
We are sustained by the grace of God.
Thank you very much. My question to you, Mr. Ngoma, you have been talking of solar not being sustainable, but on the other hand, you are talking about the country producing solar panels. How viable is it that, and what other alternatives do you have that which the European government has not put in place? Because to me, what I'm seeing on the ground, the government is trying by all means to put things in place. But what other alternatives do you have apart from what the government has already offered? Uranium, you're talking of uranium. How many mines and how much quantity of uranium do we have in Zambia? I know quite okay some time back in Southern Province there was PNC that was trying to do the uranium thing, and that thing proved not to be very viable. To date, those mines have not been opened in Sinazongwe. So what other alternative do you have apart from what the UPND has done? Thank you.
Running his thoughts. So Vamonga, Zambia is bigger than an individual. See here to be people who are talking because we have an issue with the ruling party. Our job is to offer solutions. So if you think you are comfortable, this is not your program. This program is for people, the laymen, people out there. Businesses are down. Are you telling me solar is that cheap according to you, Vamonga? Are you telling me my grandmother in Kalingalinga here, they can manage the so-called solar? And munama vantu na vizungu, amaleta ati net metering. Ni ndani mkombo nanga pange maraiti, muzimu gwira pamenso. Ati no, tizakuikira mita, mwaika na kapaneo, imwe Vamonga imwe. Then muambo uza muntu, yamene yo solar mkaika Vamonga, giza sumunga yashe.
But how realistic is nuclear equally? How cheap is nuclear?
Let me tell him that as we are speaking right now,
how realistic are you going to do it?
The realistic point is that every emerging economy, as we are speaking right now, the route to go is nuclear. We have lead in Kabwe here. We have boron, which we use to ignite to ignite the nuclear power plant. We have the cement here to build those walls.
But these investments, Mr. Ngoma, are not new to Zambia. The nuclear plant was supposed to be established way back in about 2018 under the PF. Experts told us that Zambia was not ready. So what magic is the leadership movement going to use moving forward? How ready? What are you telling us? Are you the experts?
Brother Cheswa, life is all about risks. Mwana wa Cheswa kumera meno yaja diarrhea yadwala mwana mkombo numufunsa mzamvera hapa meno chabe kuti achoke yaja mwana adwala diarrhea. Life is full of risks. You cannot be a nation where you have leaders who are so timid. Why kudala mwenzo yopa kuika magasi? Wenzo kamba, gasi, she's a police and nyumba is up. Today you are just fine using the gas. Why? Because a gas engineer will tell you, Brother Cheswa, once you smell a strange word, don't lit the match. Because you may end up putting your house on fire. Maybe the rats will have damaged the connections there. Today, most of the houses, when you are building them, you build them in such a way that if you have your piece of land, at the kitchen there, you put an arrangement where you put your gas cylinder outside the main house. What am I telling you? What I'm telling the Zambian people and the leadership movement of President Sirumbe, we are saying that we are land-linked as a nation, and we can use this as a money spinner. This debt restructuring abash, you are going to be making a lot of your money, and the winter maize now, you can start drilling real bores, because the drought we are talking about, underneath here, we have water, we have an aquifer there, but we are told that Zambia is in a state of emergency, drought. We need to go the winter maize. Ask yourself.
So what is the strategic plan for this nuclear plant? Let's hear the plan. But before that, let's pick another caller, Mr. Ngoma, from Chingola this time around. Good evening and through to Diamond Live.
Good evening. How are you?
Very well, Brian. Please go ahead with your question or your contribution this evening.
Yes, please. Mr. Ngoma, good evening, and thanks a lot to hear from you.
Thank you very much, Brother Brian.
Yes, please. You are making very good contributions, except that you seem not to the contributions seem not to be coordinated. As a result, us listeners are not getting the real alternative that you are offering. You mention winter maize, then you mention nuclear, you mention this. Maybe what you can do is to give us alternatives, as the area caller said. Give us alternatives to what the UPND is done already. If you feel UPND is going on the wrong way, can you give us the other side of your story so that we get it from you, to say the leadership movement wants to drive the country on this direction and not on the direction on which we are with the UPND. That way we shall be able to get a point or to learn something new from you. Okay. Thanks very much, and carry on with the program.
Okay.
Thank you, Brian. I think my question too, Mr. Ngoma, was if solar is expensive for the normal household, and for the common Zambian out there in either George Compound or Kanyama or wherever they are, and you are proposing nuclear energy. This is something that I earlier asked that was equally on a program for the Patriotic Front, but it never took off. What is the strategy? And where are these resources coming from? What is the plan? And how are you going to do it as a leadership movement?
First thing first, I want to thank Brother Brian for he forgot where I came from, because I started with appreciating our forefathers, where they had the mind of being people who are able to produce, because we used to run these mines on our own. We used to control our airlines. We had all sorts of things, and those people, they have laid a foundation. So I was saying, that you need to start on the aspect of production. That's why I made it very clear. You cannot talk of an economy or a budget where you are not putting your priority on primary industry. That's why I mentioned about the land. That whatever that we seem to not to have, the land has got everything, the minerals we're talking about. Now, when he mentions to say, no, give us an alternative, I was very clear, I was very candid here to say, the only way to go is nuclear power plant, period. Whether you like it or not, here we're not going to bargain, because if you check any Southern African country, tell me where there is a country where they're using solar in the mining sector to do mining, if solar is sustainable. The issue to deal with now, the drought is with us, and this uranium does not know drought. This sun you are talking about is not as a God-given gift like it is in the desert areas like UAE, because that is a desert. Here, right now, as I'm talking to you, if there is somebody who's got an investment of the solar, they will tell you, my light yakaenda chabe for 2 days, 48 hours. My batteries yankala depleted. Wambo sewenze sama solar direct. 18 hours yakwana, my light siya yaka. Why? The batteries are down. ZESCO is there to do what we call the backup system, to charge your batteries. When ZESCO is off grid, it's about 10 hours or so, you find that your batteries will deplete. So if you ask a simple installation like this one, you are talking about 500,000 kwacha. How many people can manage to get that? So what we are saying ourselves is that the government should not be weak, where it tells Zambians to say Mnyambopanga Malaiti. It has never happened. We want the government to go where their friends are going, lobby for the technology. You have the resources. The lead is where, if you are going to the hospital, for example, that room where you do x-ray, it's a special room. They have put a lead sheet around to protect the gamma rays. And this is the same principle that goes on in the nuclear. We are already in the nuclear power, we are already in the technological age where we have the technology. All we need now is to maximize. Boron is where we ignite. And cement, we use it to build those. And the places we build these facilities are places like Bangweulu, swampy areas. Once you go that route, a unit of this studio, it is enough. It is going to produce enough of your electricity, and you'll be selling outside your country. That is forex for you. And when he mentioned that no winter maize, because we're talking of chakudya, nizingati ungalero. When the kutiuza president ati kuli drought vazete neso zambolima vendra partner minister. So when we mention winter, we are saying winter cannot just be pronounced. Tifuniko drilling ama boreholes.
We've got a lot to touch on the budget. We'll look at CDF. The minister did highlight quite many things, but let's first speak another caller. I'm trying to get as many phone calls to drive this conversation further. Good evening, and you're through to Diamond Live. Please go ahead with your contribution this evening. Ali Muhango, you're through to Diamond Live. Ask your question or contribute. Okay, let's see if you can try to call us back, Ali Muhango. Let's talk about CDF, Mr. Ngoma. This, for many, say, has been a game changer. Do you believe so?
Hivyo ni vizungu hivyo. Hii boma ni ya vizungu. Andi ngati kuli boma izavuta na vizungu nyamenei. Because vantu wakati valireko njala kuti njala ni bibiliko. Manje hii yamene CDF vafunseni. What is it that we can point at from the time wanaichosa in the 1.5, right?
1.6 billion.
1.6. They have elevated to where it is today. Vasisi kambira veka vantu kunjako. Because nkhani ili hapa ni janeti kamba kuti the problem with the new dawn, they don't have the productive route. Wana consumptive route. Awa vantu hapa. Tika kamba consumptive chilimonga so bambo cheswa. Mwasira madamu cheswa ka 200 kwa chaka. Ndeka lipo aka madamu. Wa madamu cheswa kamba tino inenienda kusaluni. Iwe make yendako kukatambalala. Isi kamba katambalala ndio mkombonis. Kuja kukatambalala zagula tukapenta, zagula tu swampo, zagula tu binzi na tu onioni. Mubwera junior zankala tamanga. Bata akaenda kusaluni. ija ni consumptive lane because kulibe visa chokamo. Why that money the 36 plus yana wakaliboikirira, why you not kuipeleka ku nitrogen chemicals of Zambia? So that Amtolo you can even fire him instantly because Amtolo watikanga mjira bwanja Amtolo.
But social cash transfer, I mean CDF is also good for the country's social development, health services, social
my brother,
services, education. How is the leadership movement intending to safeguard the lives of the most vulnerable? Because CDF is meant for the most vulnerable in our communities. How do you intend
program
to do that?
niopanga vantu nkhala valesi. Why apa so 82-year-old man kuchipata nacho kamba nao apa so vawalimisa miseo kuchipata huko tieno wapasa timpasana after 10 days na lero wakalipo kuwapasa. So imagine if that money was not put ku consumptive lane mwaipeleka ku primary, if that money is there mwayambo panga ma fertilizer, you prepare a farmer. This farmer, I'm telling you what is going to produce. Loko mkamba tukuli drought satamuza na pali aquifarea pa ground hapa pali manzi tikakamba nchizungu hicho tikakamba aquifarea pali mariva pansi hapa. You can start na boma yanu under ZNS mambo kumba mea migodi zija, then you start watering mukambo watering manje njala mzaigwira manje because you are productive as a country pani tiendera hapa iyo CDF anawakamba tisamvera ngati kule kwa sevens.
I'm inviting people to call us and to tell us what you think about the alternatives that the leadership movement is providing. We're looking at the 2025 national budget. Mr. Ali, please go ahead with your contribution very quickly with your question or contribution tonight. Kindly turn down the volume on your TV because we are getting some feedback here in the studio. Just turn down the volume on your TV and speak with us.
Hello, you can hear me?
Just turn down the volume on your TV and go ahead with your question or contribution.
Okay, Mangoma, in nuclear power plant, this thing has been spoken before. We had an issue when this thing was presented the first time around. And the Chief Commission refused because she said that the people are not competent enough to run a nuclear power station because we had a problem with the Kobe where the Japanese were very efficient people. That thing blew up. How efficient do you think you Africans can be? There are only two countries in Africa where they've got nuclear power plants. That is South Africa and Egypt. Why the rest don't have nuclear power plants? Because it's very complicated. It takes 5 years to build a nuclear power plant. 5 years. The only solution which you have is coal. Not nuclear. I'm not going to talk nuclear. You can't run a nuclear power plant. Your mind is not there. That's the problem. Your mind is not there. The coal plant is what you can run, and the coal plants are already there, but Desco's got coal plants behind their workshops, behind their offices, they've got the coal plants here not switching on. That is what you should be talking about. Coal plants, which are everywhere, which are easy to maintain and produce. They take less than 3 years to build a nuclear coal plant, not a nuclear power plant which you don't know anything about. Do your research, my brother. Do your research properly. Thank you.
Mr. Mango seems to disagree with you, Mr. Ngoma. It's going to take you around 5 years. And I think I mentioned that these are suggestions that were brought up, not just during late President Mwanawasa, but even during the PF. These are suggestions that couldn't take off because the idea was that we as a people were not ready. Zambia was not ready. We were not competent enough, rather, to borrow Mhango's words.
This is
how's it going?
This is a colonial mentality. Why we are here? Want to panel beat minds like this? You cannot have a country which is so timid. This is colonialism. We are talking of America. The state of Georgia recently, they are getting your resource. They built a nuclear power plant producing 15,000 megawatts. You have people like Mr. Mwango saying, coal is the only way to go. Are you telling me that in Zambia we have ceased to be in a global village? Is this what you are telling us? Because I've just mentioned here, China has given about 19 projects to African countries. to help them build the nuclear power plant. Egypt is being helped, the one he's talking about. Egypt is being helped by the Russians. What is he telling me? And the issue of Chongwe, it was supposed to be a school there, so that you create the school for the students who will be taken to Russia. They are being prepared in readiness for the would-be project to come. So what is telling me to say, no, it was not supposed to be in Chongwe.
But you agree that it will take quite a significant amount of time.
What is important is striking the solution.
Let's talk about the immediate
solution. The immediate one, you have to go to places where your friends are going. You have Mozambique corridor. Russia has got the greener energy using the very nuclear power plant we're talking about. They are supplying the Americans. They can't mention it. You can talk to Russia and say, Mwana, we are a non-aligned country. The wars you are fighting with your brother, we don't know it. Can you give us the electricity? Just like you are giving India your fuel. Just like China is getting from Russia. Why not strike cheap deals? So that you people who are buying diesel right now, you should buy diesel at a cheaper price. Even if fuel, you should be at a level where you have strike cheap deals, and your people, as they are using alternative solutions to do with the generators, you have taken a better route, and the very electricity, Russia is looking where to sell it. But because you are fighting wars, which you don't know, and you want to be told where to go and where not to go, that's why leadership movement, because we have never seen a and this generation, if it was there during the struggle for independence, you were not going to get the independence. Manta, how are you going to live in a world your friends are using that as a money spinner? You have chicken out. Look at China. China, when they meet with America, they're discussing trade. When Russian president meet with the Iranian president, they are discussing trade. Imomendo Guada, Mukamba Pama debt restructuring. What is that? We were supposed to be having our reserves to do with gold, doing reserve to do with uranium, doing reserve with copper. You go as a bargainer. I need your technology. I have so much tonnages. Not Makoya, Makamba. What is that? Because we are advancing with the technology around, and if every country is running away from the source where they used to have a traditional way, why is it that you are fearing? You have the phobia. No, it is dangerous. Life is all about challenges, and that is not a danger that we can fear, because our president, Dr. Richard Sirumbe, he has done his training for his sake. I can divulge this information. He has done his training in Russia. From Russia, he went to South Korea. So if he's talking of research, which research is he talking about? Because we are better placed ourselves because we are talking from the research angle.
No, but Dr. Sirumbe is not the only one who's studied. But I think what the idea and what I think Muhango was trying to put across is the practicability, the assessment. That,
no, I want to panel beat him. He's talking about research. Now, before you come in, Cheswa, listen, these press singers, the way they come, we know them. They are here to neutralize us. Now we are going to be equal to the task.
No, but
no. Listen, such minds, we know them.
You can't call him a
No. He is.
He is just
putting up a because I started from an angle where we are talking of alternatives in Southern Africa. Mention one country which is using solar as a solution to do with mining. Where? We told you that if countries are migrating from the traditional sources to go to nuclear, what does that tell you? Then he comes, no, do your research. He's misleading people. We are from the research background ourselves. That's why I told him that if Kwezemkuzimvera, Dr. Richard Sirumbe has just lowered himself. He's a PhD holder, not Yama Kakuyama honorary. Calculations. I want him to listen because he thinks we are just talking from the vacuum. As we talk now, if you are to Google right now, you are going to see that Egypt is being helped by the Russians, and this technology is there. It's only the willingness of the leaders who would want to go the sure way, and Zambia being a land linked, we can make a lot of money because that commodity you can supply the Southern Africa now because you have what it takes. But with minds which are colonial in nature, where they think everything foreign is better than our own, we are going to talk to vana vao vantu ava. Ngati vayo paveve, tizakambana vana vao. Because we cannot continue to have a country where we are so timid and we are taking advantage. No, you have no capacity. What capacity are we talking about? When we have all what it takes, all we need is a willpower to go that route and face this challenge head on. Once you go that route, you are going to see that this country is going to come out of this quagmire we are in. For as long as we have Zambians who are so weak and they are fearing to face challenges, forget about it.
Let's speak Henry, Mr. Ngoma, also who would like to contribute on tonight's edition of Diamond Live. Please go ahead quickly with your question or contribution tonight.
Yes, good evening.
Good evening. Thank you for joining us.
Yes. I think we as listeners, we are having a challenge where the speaker is listening to respond, not to respond to our questions, but is only listening to give a response. So he's talked about the 15,000 megawatts which was made in Georgia and things like that. I think as listeners, we are agreeing to the fact that nuclear is a solution for this country. But as listeners, we want an immediate solution. When we talk of nuclear power, our understanding is that how long will it take for this plant to be made? Are we talking of a minimum of 3 years, a minimum of 5 years? That is our understanding. The plant is talking about in Georgia began in 2013. Africa, as it now, only South Africa is running a nuclear plant.
Even Egypt,
we are seeing case,
even Egypt, for information, Egypt is one of them also.
Egypt is scheduled to open their first ever nuclear plant right now. Kenya is just passing policies about a nuclear plant. So I think the first step that we need to understand is, as a country, we need to understand that as a country, we've not had an energy plan for quite a long time. Our population has been increasing. We have not had an energy plan for quite a long time. So I think the leadership movement should be emphasizing on, as a country, having an energy plan, so that regardless of what regime comes into power, there is an energy plan that is in place. Whenever we change regime, there's an energy plan. And also talking of CDF, I think on CDF 1, I believe it's a game changer. But my concern is, how is the government evaluating how these funds are dispensed and used? I think that should be the worry of us Zambians. How are they carrying out a monitoring and evaluation assessment? So I think those are the things we expect to hear from opposition. Those are the things that will provide checks and balances. As opposed, we are looking for immediate solutions right now. If we talk of immediate solutions right now, what is going to give us power right now? A nuclear power plant is a good solution, but it won't give us power right now. So even when you are giving to say, let's make a nuclear power plant, give us also the figures. How much will it cost to a nuclear plant producing this number of watts? How much will it cost us as a country? And to what extent can we go? Thank you very much.
Mulenga, thank you so much. Very critical submissions there from Mulenga, who, and I was asking you about the strategy and the plan. He speaks about having an energy plan for the country, despite whatever regime comes into place. Perhaps I should be asking, is there really an immediate energy solution to this crisis for the leadership movement?
Definitely. That's why I don't know where he was when I was elaborating here, that as we are speaking now, we have countries who have this commodity. I gave an example of Russia as we are speaking right now. Russia, they have the commodity, and we can use Mozambique corridor. Mozambique corridor, as we are talking, you can just dock a ship there, and you just create an interlink all the way. They just come and feed your system there, because as we are speaking, we need to collaborate. That's why we have countries who are cooperating with us right now, like the Tazama pipeline, for example, that stretch where our parents created to make sure that we have the crude oil, which in then now the fractional distillation has collapsed. We needed to put as many pipes there so that we sort out the energy issue to do with the diesel, because you cannot talk of production where energy is nowhere near, because a tractor to crank, it needs diesel. And the very energy that we are talking about, if your friends are striking cheap deals, the problem is the non-aligned position. You are not gagged as a country to say you can only trade with the Eastern Bloc or the Western Bloc. No, we need to trade with the Eastern Bloc. We need to trade with the Western Bloc, meaning the Americans, you cannot say you can only work with Americans. No.
Has the leadership movement pegged how much will go into investing with this nuclear pipeline, education, training, and just setting up of have you projected how much this will cost?
That one.
And how long would it take?
What it is at this infancy, we are looking at the policy direction. When you talk of the policy direction, you are simply trying to bring to the realization that we should not pretend that we have sorted out the problem. That is a lie. That's why we are here. We are saying the way to go is when we agree as a people, as a nation, that solar is not the lasting solution to our problems. But the other way around, people are posing it as if it's solar, it is the alpha and omega, now we have sorted out the problem. That's why we are saying no to. We are saying Zambia is endowed with the natural resources, the God. Why can't you go the route of barter system? You have the real value, have your resources, and lobby the technology with the people who are having it in a way that is a win-win. You have the copper.
All right, we've talked much about the nuclear energy. I want us to pick our last caller because I'm going to ask you about the 9.3 billion kwacha now going into the farmer input support program. That's probably one thing I would like us to touch on before we can conclude. I've got our last caller. Please go ahead with your contribution or question. Good evening, you're through to Diamond Live.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening. I've got a few seconds to just contribute before we close.
Okay. Good evening, Jairus.
Yes, sir. How are you today?
I'm okay, how are you?
We are sustained.
To comment on the issues that you are putting across there, you are coming out very well, but the only challenge that we have is the implementation of those projects that you are talking about. That's where the problem is. And also the planning aspect also has to be considered, because most of the people, when they are there, as you are putting it, they articulate issues like the way you are putting, but when you come to implementation, it's something else. You are talking about the Russian thing, what, but how viable is it? Can it be done? When people need the solution right now? Because as I'm speaking, others are not even watching the TV. For those that are watching like me, I don't know. It has to be somewhere there. So can you point out the solution that you put out immediately as if it's leadership movement when you are maybe you're put in power?
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anthony Mwasi is our last caller there. Perhaps I'm asking about the increase now allocated to the Farmer Input Support Program, 9.3 billion kwacha to improve agriculture and productivity. Isn't this not a plus for Zambia?
Vamwanza, Brother Cheswa, what will tell you? Iboma is full of semantics, UPND. As we are talking, do you know what they are doing?
You seem not to...
we are on the ground. We are on the ground. Just take a walk tomorrow.
You seem not to believe anything the UPND
These
say.
people, they have given us headache. Because what they are saying in my paper, in the background, they have reduced. Those packages, they have reduced now. A farmer is given 4 bags. Vamuza at loan, I know 8 pin. So meaning 1 bag is 2,000. And they have lowered those packages. They have increased the numbers. So what are you telling us when they are telling? That's why we are telling you that we were supposed to be wasting time on how to resuscitate the nitrogen chemicals of Zambia. Once you resuscitate the nitrogen chemicals of Zambia, you put remedial measures and say, the electricity where the mill is taken to go and being hammered there. Let's work on the electricity tariff.
So this is a proposed budget. So this budget, according to you, what should have been allocated to the farmer input support program?
The challenge that we have with this new Dawn government, to start with, Honorable Mtoro Pili, Atikanga, why are you going to threaten people in Eastern Province, say, Tengani milisi zanu, kuti, kuefara, failure to wish to mucho san pa FISIP, the very program, yamene wakambai. How do you threaten people when you told the people that, no, in a drought, it's a national disaster? What kind of reasoning is that? Then you come now with such statements which are confusing, totally confusing. Because Indian background, just go on the copper belt. We're just coming from on the copper belt. The farmers, as we are talking, they're in the total disarray. Because what they tell you per media, and when you go per ground, go to Ncherenge, they are sharing meda. Go to Chipata, as we are talking right now, people are surviving on mangoes. Brother Cheswako. Mangas, that's where they are surviving on. Now, if you have a government which is thinking to alleviate this, what were the priority? The priority was supposed to set it right that your farmers are given the proper attention to do with their maize. That's why we are talking of title deeds ourselves. Because you cannot give Ngoma an arrangement to say he wants to do his farming where you don't know how big his farm is, and the NRC, there are no hectareage there, and this is where the criminality terminates from. We were supposed to give a title deed to a piece of land so that when you are giving this FISIP program, you know that farmer X is the rightful beneficiary. As it is, you find that the real farmers are suffering because there is no policy which is going to curb. And when we are talking about production, production has to go with the source of energy. So when we speak here, we should know that Zambia is land-linked. And Zambia is a global village. It's not a bad issue to learn, like, look at the Zimbabweans. The Zimbabweans have gone to get the tractors from Belarus, about 13,000 high-tech tractors, because they know, and they've gone to get fertilizer from the Russians.
What do you say to people that don't seem to trust the leadership movement's ideas? For others that seem to trust you, but there still seem to be those that are not convinced by these very ambitious programs that you propose. Good initiatives, but people say they're too ambitious and cannot be achieved. In a minute as we close.
We were a laughing stock when we are talking about ZNS run mines. When we are talking of ZNS state farms, we were laughed at. Hey, there's nothing you are doing. Hey, we are economists. What has gone wrong with the 10 points plan? Check on that 10 points plan. You are going to find ZNS there. We are the architects. That's why when we speak here, we don't miss our words. We are saying the solution lies on production. You cannot go to Njiratwa Maloni and you want to come and convince us that no, 80% it will be so local. How? How are you going to justify the 80%? You were supposed to be seen tilling the land. Take your young people, educated or not, labor is labor. Go there, the ZNS run state farms. You talk of the correction service there. We are going to turn it as a labor camp. That will be capital. We'll be exporting labor and we'll be using it. Why is it that the Chinese you are seeing to build your roads, those are convicts. But here, you want to pretend that no, we can't do only foreigners. So when we are here, it's a tikamba hapa ghetto, pa komboni hapa, vikwati brother, cheswa, vonongeka every day. So how are you going to sustain it? You need to go the route of the primary route. Now, before I conclude, let me give the number so that...
As you conclude, are you going to produce an alternative budget as the leadership movement? Are you going to publish an alternative budget?
It's a non-starter. That one you are just wasting your energy. All you need to do is to work on the mindset of the Zambian people. Because they're the people...
I'm asking about your budget.
No. Our budget is to unscrew these bots with the Zambian people. Mavota ameni hapa. Tilipano, makamaka mayuthi wameni hapa. Imwe mayuthi, imwe muchinje uko kunja uko. Go for prayer and fasting. Mwenza kuwauza my nephews manyumba, brother Cheso. Chinjani, nobody will fix it. So now, our alternative is the mindset.
We have to close.
The mindset of the Zambian people should be worked on so that next time
in conclusion,
a conman should be spotted on as he's coming. The line to contact us under Leadership Movement and Dr. Richard Silumbe. The line is 0966 57 28 84. 0966 57 28 84. The other line, Airtel line, 0973 0973 60 75 00. 0973 60 75 00. It's support your local team. Local is Laka. It's Garamukani.
We'll see you.
Ulibe Vamanta tienda enda na nuclear power plant.
Jairus Ngoma is
Thank
the
you very
Secretary
much.
General of the Leadership Movement. He's been joining us this evening. Thank you to everybody that's been mid-time to call us on our episode of Diamond Live. Join us on Friday as we break down the day's big news stories. Good night.